Okay. Excuse me, let me just clear my throat and get some water here. Okay, so I'm going to try to project. I'm sort of I am recording this on a just a pair of headphones and my iPhone, and I'm in the car too. So the sound quality might not be what it could be, but that's really just a temporary thing. So who knows, maybe this will be, a real talk that gets put up online. And maybe this will just be some sort of run-through practice talk. But either way, here we go. So, okay, so first let's just do some introductions. So, who am I? I realized I don't really want to be using my real name for reasons that will become clear, and some that won't. Let me just give a little bit about my background here. So, why, how am I different than the, guy, the 13-year-old on his parents' computer, who's doodling pentagrams in his art history notebook, and, just Googling some random things, right? Like, okay, so what, why should I be listened to on the subject of the occult? Well, so, I'm not going to go into full detail here, but suffice it to say, I have degrees in philosophy and religion. I have advanced degrees in philosophy, and in particular, my AOS, my area of specialization, when I was in graduate school, was what is called, in the academic community, the philosophy of religion, which is studying the philosophical underpinnings of the various world religious traditions, and analyzing the questions that those raise. So, anyway. So that was what I spent my time studying. That's what I have the most knowledge on, is philosophy, but then also what we might call the history of ideas, the different religious traditions and spiritual traditions and wisdom traditions, and how those traditions were conceived of by individuals operating within those traditions. Okay, so that's that. Now look, on top of the academic background, there's a practitioner background here. So I have been a Zen practitioner, practicing Zen Buddhism for, let me think for a second. Oh gosh. Okay, yeah, about 7 years, 8 years, give or take, maybe longer than that, maybe closer to 10. Somewhere between 7 and 10 years, I've been meditating, and in a serious way, right? I sort of flirted with it for a while, but in a committed fashion, I've been meditating for somewhere between 7 and 10 years, and practicing Zen Buddhism, working my way through different Zen riddles, as we might call them, or koans, and visiting Zen temples, and all that kind of thing. So, okay. Then, I've been practicing the occult, or the dark art, or magic, with or without the K, take your pick. I've been doing that for, I don't know, probably really only about a year tops. But I should say that, there was a really long phase there where I was just studying this stuff to kind of get myself to a place where I felt like I could practice it in a way that made sense to me. So I kind of dabbled here and there and did a couple of magical experiments, we might say. But I didn't really start, practicing it regularly until, I don't know, a year or two ago, tops, right? So somewhere between, I don't know, I guess a year and 2 years for the practitioner side of things, for specifically practicing the occult. So there you go. I feel like my Zen practice definitely led to my occult practice. I feel like, there was a lot of groundwork that was done that, I definitely feel like I wouldn't be as good at magic as I am right now, only a year in, if it wasn't for the fact that a lot of the tiers and grades and exercises, a lot of the stuff that you do before you start really, cooking with gas, has to do with meditation and discipline and mind training and all these different things, and clearing up illusions and misconceptions and coming to an understanding of how your mind works. So I definitely, discovered that all that time meditating and practicing Zen basically put me in this perfect position to start practicing the occult. And I think if I had started dabbling in the occult earlier, again, I had been studying it for a really long time. It was just inevitable that I had to know all that stuff as part of the philosophy training and religion training that I was going through academically. So I was always, it was always part of my intellectual, it was always something that stimulated me intellectually. It was always part of my intellectual background, knowing about the occult and the different occult traditions. But I had never really gotten around to practicing it, certainly not in a committed fashion, until about a year ago, probably tops, 1 to 2 years ago, at the absolute most. But it gets a little hard to tell after a while, but we'll get into that. Okay, so, I guess I should say, I spent a lot of time, so when I was in grad school, I taught different bioethics courses. I taught as well introductory Eastern philosophy courses on Taoism and Confucianism and Buddhism and so on, and Hinduism. I also have experience teaching ethics courses, more generally, general ethics, introductory philosophy courses, survey courses, things like that. So, and I still do that. So I'm not really in the academic community anymore. In the publishing sense, I'm not really interested in what the academic philosophical community is doing, quite honestly, in terms of the writing that they're doing, but or that they're putting out. But I'm still very much involved insofar as I teach philosophy regularly. And for, money, for a living. So I do that, among other things. So hopefully that gives you some sense of, again, the difference between me and, the 13-year-old using his parents' computer, who draws pentagrams in his art history notebook, who's using his parents' computer to, Google Wicca. I have a little bit more street cred, I think, than that guy. So that's all I'm trying to say. I'm hoping you're getting a sense of like, okay, I might, have interesting things to say here. And it took me a while to even feel like I might have interesting things to say here. I kind of felt like, hey, it's all pretty much been said and done before. That is still pretty much my conviction. I do just... Excuse me, I'm drinking water is what that is. So there's been a kind of media that I've been looking for, or a kind of way of articulating these things, or kind of occult analysis that I've been looking for, and I haven't quite been able to find it, although there's great people out there. And so, it wasn't, a friend of mine just said, well, why don't you just start making the stuff that you're looking for? So that's what we'll do. So I think I'm very grateful for my background and my experiences, and that all that other stuff came first before I got interested in the occult, because that training was really rigorous. I can't really go into a lot of detail, but I did study at one of, if not the best, grad school in the country for that kind of thing. And so it was really rigorous, which was great, because I learned all about the scientific method and falsifiability and Occam's razor, and all the stuff that comes along with that, all the stuff that helps you just really get good at critical thinking, right? And so then when I did start getting into the occult, I felt like, I'm very grateful, because I felt like, okay, I could tell kind of what was unnecessary or bullshit or just sort of an add-on or a vestigial structure, and what was really the essence of the method and the science. I do think that magic is a science. I think it's some sort of hyper science, or some sort of, some sort of science that will sort of be able to analyze according to our current methods, maybe like 500 years from now. But at the moment, it's just, a technology or something that works. But look, the point is here, there's so much going on with the occult, and there's so much going on that works and so much going on that doesn't. And I'm not always seeing... Excuse me, I just have a very dry throat. I just don't always see people really kind of taking pains to separate the two. And to really just not introduce anything too unnecessary. So that's kind of my goal with these talks, is to, give an analysis from many different angles of the occult, and really with an emphasis on practice. This is kind of it's for those who are curious. It's for, those interested in magical theory, I'll say, but I tend to kind of stay away from speculation, and it kind of disgusts me, being honest. So, the focus will be, the emphasis will be sort of on my own experiments, and on what I think the practical upshot is of my reflections for practitioners. So hopefully this will be really interesting, and it'll give people who are in the know and on the inside of occult circles, things to think about, to help clean up maybe, and precisify their own practices, and to make their own magical operations more potent and effective and focused and clear. But then also maybe, people who are kind of maybe not in the know and outside of occult circles, and where it hasn't quite fully they haven't maybe been able to make it work, or know why they should try. I'm hoping I have some interesting things to say to those people as well, and that they'll get a really interesting insight into how a practitioner tries to be as scientific as he can about how he goes about performing magical operations, using this new science, or this hyper science, to bend reality to his will. So, we'll see if I can deliver on all those promises.